can't find anywhere else in crypto.
Interesting. Okay. So now we're going to get to some pretty heavy topics. I know you've talked about these things before, uh, but let's go ahead and roll into the first one. So, what I'm seeing consistently through social media and people kind of presenting it as an argument against investors, people like me that are in drip. So, people are assuming two main things that are causing them to think that drip is either a pyramid scheme, a Ponzi scheme, or a scam. So, the first one
Huh?
is the tiered referral system. And then I'll go ahead and get into the
Yeah.
second one. Can you address the tiered referral system and how that does not fit into a pyramid scheme, a Ponzi scheme, a scam?
Yeah, sure. So the way that Drip works, specifically the team onboarding system works, is for every positive action in the system, essentially a deposit onto the faucet, it pays out one bonus. This is the same as Amazon or any other major traditional um, product that gives a referral bonus for a purchase on their platform. If someone uses your referral link and does a purchase on Amazon, it's going to pay out um, one bonus, one commission based on that deposit. Now, if someone does another purchase on Amazon using this referral link, it's going to pay out an additional bonus. So it's one bonus per positive action going to one person. And
To
this is the
one
same
person.
exact, yeah, and this is the same exact mechanic that we have on the Drip network. The difference is that when someone does a positive action, if this bonus or this commission first goes to the person that did the direct referral. Now, if that person that just did the positive action does an additional deposit or a compound, essentially the equivalent of another purchase on Amazon, it triggers a bonus, but the contract looks and says who was the last person to get the referral bonus. If the last person that got the referral bonus was the direct referrer, now when this person below them does another deposit, it will skip them and go to the person above them.
Hmm.
Still only rewarding one person per positive action, but it's rewarding members of the team as well. So it fairly distributes rewards across a team, but not in a way where it's a multi-level referral structure where the higher you go up in the protocol or the sooner you got into the protocol, the larger the commission you make. So what makes something a pyramid scheme is a referral structure where as you go up the upline, the higher you are, essentially the earlier you got into the protocol, the larger the commission you make. And when someone in your downline makes a sale, typically pyramid schemes are hidden behind some sort of pseudo legitimate company. They sell products and services that really no one cares to buy the product or services. Most people are interested in buying sales packages and being an agent. So they get sold on being an agent, and then they might sell some products that are associated with it, but the main profit is coming from selling other people on being agents. This is typically how a pyramid scheme would go. And when someone onboards a new agent, it will set up a multi-level reward structure that increases the commission as it goes further up the line. Drip is not like that. With Drip, when someone does a positive action, a deposit or a compound, that referral bonus goes to one person on their team. Now, the commission that they get is the same size no matter when they got on. Whether they got on day one and they have, a ton of people under them, or they got on yesterday and they just got their first commission. Everybody's commission is the same unless you have five or more direct referrals. And if you have five or more direct referrals, you're considered a team wallet. And in this case, you only get 75% of the regular commission, and the other 25% gets kicked back down to your downline. So it's actually the opposite of what you would see in a type of pyramid structure that's top heavy In this system, if you have a team wallet, 5 more directs, you're actually kicking a portion of your commission back down. So it's agnostic to when you actually get into the protocol, which is, diametrically opposed to what you would see in any kind of pyramid scheme. On top of this, it's not a system where it will be, for example, one of the key mechanics that you would see in a pyramid scheme is the majority of the capital all being funneled to the top of the system. In drip, you can only have 15 people in your downlines. Once you've reached 15 people in your downline, you are no longer rewarded for anybody that gets referred by that 15th level. And what this does is prevents capital from flowing upstream. And it can only flow up to the top of a team wallet, and essentially everybody can be at the top of their own team. Because if you join, you refer someone, they refer someone, it builds up to 15 levels. Now you're at the top of your team, and rewards from your team can never flow further past you in the upline protocol. So it prevents the system from becoming top heavy, and it allows everybody to be at the top of their own team, separate from when they got into the protocol. So there are many things that would separate us from a type of pyramid scheme. But the major ones are capital is not allowed to flow and concentrate at the top of the uplines. There's a terminal point where it can only downlines can only go a max of 15 levels, and once those rewards go 15 levels up, it then circles back down to the one that did the direct referral. It's also not a system where the commission structure gets larger the further you go up the upline. It's actually the opposite of that. If you have 5 more directs, you get 75% of your commission, and the other 25 goes back downline, which is the opposite of what you would see in a type of pyramid structure. And then there's only one commission paid out per positive action. And this puts us on the same level as a Amazon or an eBay or any other major, traditional referral structure that you would see in a regular market, where one positive action, a purchase on Amazon or a deposit on the faucet, triggers one bonus. The only difference is that we share the bonuses with the team. You share your bonuses with the team. So it further decentralizes it. And this is a system that can only be done in DeFi. So we took a type of protocol that a company like Amazon or any of these other major companies that do referrals, and we just further decentralized it and made it that much more fair, because the rewards are being more equally decentralized among your team, right? So the people that referred you now get benefited and get a reward through the work that you do as well. But it's not multi-levels of rewards being every time anybody does anything, and everybody gets the same commission, no matter what level you are in the upline. Now,
I really like that, Forex. I really love the fact that you're stressing something that people are familiar with Amazon, and the fact that you're building a system similar to that, but you're actually able to give back to the community. This is something that Amazon is failing to do, but you decided to do it, and you're able to do it because you're dealing with blockchain technology, and you're building this project from the ground up.
Yes, exactly. And, as far as Ponzi scheme, I don't want to stick. I've answered this question so many times, but I understand I'm speaking to new people, so it's fine. But a Ponzi scheme is a type of fraud where a money manager or a business owner, but typically a money manager, is saying that profits are being generated through the sale of a product or service, typically through investing capital. And generally, there is no actual product or service going on. You know, BitConnect is an example of a Ponzi scheme. They said
Correct.
that the profits being paid out through BitConnect were being generated through an algo bot that was trading Bitcoin arbitrage. When in reality, they had no trading bot, and essentially all they were doing was shuffling around capital and giving the illusion of generated profit when there was no actually product or service generating profit at all. Drip is and of course it was completely closed source, because if it was open source, people would have immediately realized that that wasn't going on at all.
Right.
Drip is 100% open source. We've been operating for about 10 months. Our contracts have been fully open source since before launch, since day one. The profits that are being paid out through the ROI are being generated through the tax protocol. Every time someone does a transaction in Drip, apart from buying from the native DEX and compounding, there's a 10% tax placed on it. When someone compounds, there's a 5% tax on it. So essentially, they're given a tax break for keeping their capital in the system. 100% of this tax goes into a vault, and that's used to pay out the daily ROI. Now, I believe you have a question about how it remains sustainable. So I'll wait until that question comes up.
Yeah,
to speak
I'll
to
go ahead and
all
ask.
the details.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're doing very, very good detailed information. I know you did elaborate on a lot of this stuff in other AMAs, but briefly, even recapping on it, because there's new people that are here, I think is still good, and I appreciate you taking the time to do it. So the second thing
Yeah.
that I've noticed that's a main concern, and just so those of you guys in the chat, I see that you're asking questions as well. I've got questions about doxing. I've got a lot of very specific questions that I know people have been concerned about. So I'll be getting to more things. Don't worry. The second question here is the 1% daily ROI. It seems unsustainable to many people out there, and it requires new people to join to cover paying the people that joined earlier. So is that true? Is that not true?
Okay, so I was just so I'll briefly wrap up, and I'll kind of combine the Ponzi scheme thing with this. So the taxes that are generated are what create the daily ROI, and then what gives the drip token value is both the functionality of being a type of investment vehicle that manages your capital, similar to a cross between a high yield annuity and a certificate of deposit. And this in itself has intrinsic value because it recognizes the value of time and the associated value with locking up capital, and it then rewards those for doing this. On top of this, there's all the additional value of the drip token that is mainly created through partnerships. We wanted to really focus on the core contracts and creating that use case in the core contracts, and then bring additional use case through partnerships instead of doing a lot of in-house development on the core contracts of drip. Now, so this is where the ROI comes from, right? It's completely open source, it's completely transparent, and it the key word for Ponzi scheme is a type of fraud. There's nothing fraudulent going on, and this is very apparent by the fact that it's all open source, transparent, and on chain. So anybody can see where the capital is coming from.
Anybody.
Now the sustainability, anybody. So now the sustainability, yes. When we initially created Drip, we did a lot of projections, and all of our projections were based on previous projects that did daily ROIs, but all of them paid out their ROI through an inflationary mechanic, and also had large deposit fees, didn't have mechanics to stop capital from concentrating at the top, didn't have basically any of the mechanics that we built into Drip to be sustainable. But we took these the metrics that these projects saw, meaning how much capital came into them, their amount of users, their growth rate, and plugged them into drips mechanics, and then projected what the performance would look like from this. And we calculated that if we got about 35% of the drip capital locked up in the tax pool, and then saw growth that was equivalent to what these other projects saw, we would be able to maintain price appreciation while paying out the daily ROI. And as long as you're maintaining price appreciation while paying out this daily ROI, or having a stable price, then it's going to be sustainable. Drip has outperformed this ability to lock up capital in a major way. Right now, we have something like 73% of all drip so basically 72% of the total supply of drip has been sent to the tax pool. This is from every time someone does a swap or does a transaction, or basically anything apart from buying on the native DEX, they're sending drip to this tax pool. The amount of drip in the tax pool has been steadily increasing. So we see that the circulating supply is getting lower and lower and lower. Now, drip has a max payout function, and it also has a whale tax, and it has a mechanic that is taking a percentage of every buy and sell, and it's locking it up in the liquidity pool. So the max payout is 100,000 drip. Now, the only people that have been able to hit this max payout are people that have grown very large teams. So although there's only one bonus that gets paid out, or one commission every time someone in your downline does a referral, and you have to wait till it's your turn in the upline to get this reward, the larger the team you have, the more often in the upline it will be your turn to get the reward. So people with large teams do benefit from this capital they brought on. But it's very much the reward that they generate is very much based on the amount of capital they were able to bring on. It never pays out a commission that is greater than what is sustainable based on the amount of capital that was generated through this referral. Now, what wouldn't be sustainable is if those people who grew those large teams were able to then compound the commissions they get indefinitely. So what the max payout does is it doesn't prevent people from continuing to grow in the protocol, because you can always set up a new wallet, but when you do that, you can't bring over your team with you. So it essentially locks in the amount of capital that people can make through the commission structure alone. And what we see is the two people who have hit max payout, who are fairly sizable YouTubers, they took the available capital that they generated, and they're just claiming it and putting it into a new wallet, which they are now promoting, and a new account on Drip, because they realized even though they were limited on the size of growth that they could reach, there's still no better place in DeFi where they can earn a low risk guaranteed ROI. And when I say guaranteed, I mean in the token itself. Of course, we can never guarantee USD returns. That would just, it's not mathematically possible, but it is mathematically possible that we can't guarantee a Drip ROI. And these people that have reached max payout are true believers in the system. They've seen the system work very well for them, so they realize there's no better place for them to put their capital. So they've been taking the capital that is available to them, and they've created new accounts that they are then promoting as their new team accounts. The max payout prevents people from exponentially compounding the commissions that they earn through the team structure. Now, there's also a whale tax, and what this whale tax does is puts an additional fee on people that have a claim amount that is over 1% of the total supply. And this is looking at the amount claimed over the life of the account, not just if they try to do one withdrawal at one large withdrawal at a time. It's based on the over the whole life of the account. So if someone was to try to withdraw or claim more than 1% of the total circulating supply, there's an additional 5% fee placed on that. And that fee essentially just leaves that additional drip that would have been paid out in the vault to pay other people. It's not a fee that goes to developers or marketing or anything. It just remains in the vault. Now, this fee can go up to 50%. And it's
50.
raised
50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
50, yes. It's raised 5% for every 1% of the total supply you've claimed. And when you account for the tax that you pay when you claim and the tax that you would pay on selling, essentially it means that no one can ever claim and sell more than 3% of the total supply from a single drip account. And when you have this mechanic that is preventing people from exponentially compounding in the system, and you limit the ROI to 1% a day, and you have a team building protocol that is, in my opinion, in many people's opinion, and if you just look at our growth analytics, I think it's unquestionable, the best onboarding system in the world that has its own compounding element, because you refer somebody, they refer two people. One of the people they refer is a YouTuber. He refers 5,000 people. Half those people refer 5 people, and it really snowballs, and it really has this compounding mechanism to it. So you have a onboarding system which has an essentially virtually unlimited compounding potential as far as its ability to onboard new users. It really snowballs. But the daily ROI system does have limits to its compounding nature that does prevent people from being able to withdraw and sell more than 3% of the total supply, and does limit people from exponentially compounding their team referrals. You have a system that is onboarding capital, by the logic itself and the mechanism itself at a much greater rate than what it can pay out. And these mechanics that are just the hard coded into the core protocol itself does a great deal to maintain and ensure its sustainability. Now, there's also something called the reservoir, which is a protocol that allows people to stake BNB. This BNB automatically gets half of it buys drip from the native DEX, locks up that drip BNB in the liquidity pool, and then pays out, drips out essentially 2% of its balance a day in LP tokens to the holders. It's the only protocol in crypto, the only DEX that has a type of time-weighted liquidity provider fees. So essentially, from being a liquidity provider, you're agreeing to lock up the majority of the capital that you deposit into the liquidity pool. Some of it, 2% of it, is permanently locked forever. Actually, 4%, 2% in, 2% out. So 4% is permanently locked forever.
Okay.
And the rest is locked up for a period of time. And the liquidity provider fees that you get are time weighted, and so they're weighted to be heavier towards the end of the staking time that you've been in there. It allows for an extremely decentralized and deep locked liquidity pool, which also goes a long way to both give a hardened price to drip as well as a decentralized and secure liquidity pool. No one needs to worry about a rug pull in drip. And this is because there's about 27 or 28 million dollars worth of drip liquidity on PancakeSwap. This is 100% decentralized. This was 100% of it is added by the community and locked. So we have different protocols and different reward structures that allow people to earn rewards for locking up drip liquidity.
So just to reiterate, because I think that's a really important point, you're saying it can't be rug pulled. There's $27 million worth that's been through the community that's backed up on PancakeSwap and it's locked, correct?
Yeah, so that's 27 million. It's over 27 million actually on PancakeSwap. There's another about 12 million, just going off the top of my head. I haven't actually looked at the specific amount on our native DEX in a while. Last time I checked, it was around 12 million on our native DEX that is also locked and it's also completely decentralized. So altogether, there's somewhere around like $40 million of locked capital, locked liquidity in drip that is 100% decentralized, locked, and secured. The majority of it is in BUSD liquidity. And the reason why we incentivize specifically BUSD liquidity, I would say about like 65-70% of our liquidity is in BUSD. And this is to allow us to decouple from the rest of the market. And we call it our sword and shield protocol, where we have about 30% of our liquidity based in BNB capital and about 70% in stable. And this really allows us to decouple from the market, where we still have some exposure to the overall growth of the market. When BNB and the overall market goes up, we do benefit from this because we do have some portion of our liquidity tied to BNB through the BNB pairing on our native DEX. But the majority of it is in BUSD. So we still see some exposure to the overall swings of the market, but for the most part, we're decoupled due to our stable pairing. And what you see is when the market is crashing, that's typically when you see drip pumping the hardest, because people look at it as a safe haven. They look at it as a way where they can still see, a sustainable daily ROI and essentially lock up their capital in a platform that is largely decoupled from the rest of the market, which is crashing.
Yeah,
but when the market is pumping, we still have a bit of exposure there.
Man, me and my friends, we noticed that the last week. I've only been in drip for about 2 weeks. I did some research before I invested in, as well as, I think everyone should do. And I went into the project, and then the whole market just started tanking really hard. And I actually felt a bit of reassurance because I was looking at the price charts with drip, and I was a bit astonished. So, I think to go just a little bit further on with what you're saying, not only with the sword and shield mechanic that you guys have set up, but the whole anti-whale tax system, the fact that everyone that's opting in to get the 1%, doing that deposit, you can't just suddenly withdraw all those funds you put in for the deposit. You're putting in a deposit based on a system designed around time, and I like the fact that if I'm patient as an investor, I get rewarded long term. I can't go to a bank and put in $100, and a year from now that $100 is really going to be worth anything more because of inflation. So the fact that you're integrating everything into an ecosystem, and we're going to get to also Animal Farm. I know people are going to be asking more about that since it's getting ready to drop. But I'm really astonished, honestly, with what it is that you put together. And before we get further on, something else I wanted to point out to everyone else too is I'm an influencer, right? I'm a content creator. So obviously it's going to be easier for me to get referrals for something like this for those bonuses. And you can go back to earlier part of the stream. Forex had elaborated that payout structure is based on a one-person type system. Okay, it's redesigning the whole idea of how the structure of rewards go. It actually has kickback rewards. And when I was doing the math on this, I was looking at it from the perspective of not so much as me. It's cool if it helps me, sure, but there's a lot of people I care about. I got personal friends outside of YouTube that I've talked to about this project. And if I'm going to present this stuff to them, I want them to feel confident that this is a legitimate project. And when I did all this math, even if you don't have a team, you can still get substantial rewards. It's just, it will take you a bit longer. 1% compound interest is a very powerful thing. And I keep trying to stress that to everyone. So it's cool, in my opinion, that you have a referral system. I've told people about my Webull link, about BlockFi, about Coinbase, and you got different kinds of bonuses when you set yourself up with these programs, and you just found a way to incorporate it in with blockchain technology and also make it not all about the person that's got the referral link, but that you've actually got ways that when certain criteria are met, you give back to the people who don't have the luxury like I do to go talk to a big audience. So I just want to tell you, I
Yeah,
think it's really cool.
thank you. I appreciate it. And when you look at other staking protocols that have referrals, they are almost all being leached from people taking advantage of it through self-referring. So we
Right.
took a lot of time. Yeah, we took a lot of time to design a protocol that does not benefit people from self-referring, and in fact, you end up paying more taxes to the system if you self-refer. And the
Huh.
reason for this is when you do a deposit, you're paying a 10% tax. Now, the commission that gets paid out is 10%. Um, so if you deposit and you get onto an active team, when you make that initial deposit, if the person that referred you has 5 or more direct referrals, you're going to get a 2.5% bonus, a kickback bonus immediately. So that reduces your initial deposit tax to 7.5%. Now, if you just refer one person that deposits equal or more than you, that's going to offset 100% of the deposit tax, which is by design, and actually will put you immediately ahead by 2.5%. Now, the only tax that people that are active end up paying due to this is the withdrawal tax, the claiming tax, in the when they sell, essentially. There's no tax on buying, so the vast majority of taxes are just being placed on people that are doing what we would call negative actions, right? Claiming, withdrawing, selling. Now, the tax structure, since the amount that you pay in taxes is equal to the bonus you get on commission, if you were to do a self referral, that immediately cancels out the additional bonus that you would be leeching from the system, and now you have to also consider withdrawing from that account, and you would have had to have sent the drip to that account most likely. So you end up paying more in taxes than what you'd be able to pull from the system through commissions if you do self-referring. And that's also so a lot of other staking protocols that have referrals, they do have systems that are multi-level type systems where you refer someone you get 10%, they refer somebody you get 6%, that person refers someone you get 3%, and this incentivizes people to do long chains of their own account, self-referring themselves a bunch of times, and then
Right.
doing one large deposit at the end, draining all the way up.
And
And
this
there's
is
other
other
protocols.
projects. This is other projects.
Yeah. And then there's other, such as Hex Money. I'll go with one that's very old, that's kind of not going anymore. Hex Money, where they gave you a deposit, or even Hex, the original Hex project, gives you a bonus based on your deposit. So you refer somebody, you get a 10% bonus on your deposit. And this, again, incentivizes people to self-refer because you make a very large deposit and then refer yourself and do a very small, like a penny deposit, and now you get a free 10% essentially. We've completely nullified this kind of self-referring leeching from the system through the fact that it was only doing one commission per deposit. There's no increased commission based on how high you up on the in the upline, and the tax protocol, which offsets any kind of benefit that self-referring would make. Also, we're limiting the amount of downlines you can have. So by doing self-referring, you're also limiting yourself. You're limiting your ability to have legitimate referrals come on, and that you can actually make a commission that isn't being nullified by taxes that you're paying because you're trying to self-refer. So I believe we have the only protocol that is a true team protocol, or I believe Drip is the one and only true team crypto project, and it's the only one that has any kind of referral structure that is team based that can't be drained through self-referring.
Right.
And we've plugged up all of these holes that make other projects unsustainable, and this is one of the reasons why we've been so much more sustainable than any of these other projects. I would say the main thing is that we don't pay rewards through inflation. That alone just completely set us apart as far as sustainability.
Oh,
but
yeah.
we've also plugged so many holes. For example, there were other projects that did a reward structure, and essentially in this other system, you got a bonus when someone did a deposit, but you also got a bonus when that person did a withdrawal. So what you would have is the influencers would get a bunch of people excited, get a bunch of people depositing, and then once they realized that they're starting to slow down on new deposits and new referrals, they then start flooding the people on their own team to start selling, so they could then come up on the bonuses paid from withdrawals as well. Short-term thinking.
Right.
And with Drip, it's all about rewarding people for having a long-term perspective on your growth and really doing things that are going to benefit you over the long term. And people have massively benefited from this because they were not, panic selling when the whole market crashed, and they felt like, oh no, I better take some profit now. And because of this, they were not shaken out of a great project with great fundamentals, and Drip didn't correct when the rest of the market corrected. So we don't have those kinds of crazy volatile pump and dumps that come with FOMO and panic. We have FOMO pumps, but they're not followed by the panic, because it has very strong fundamentals that people can be confident in, and once you've made that deposit, you've made that decision to hold through thick and thin, and the system rewards you for that through great performance.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 11 more questions